The first ship appeared over Tokyo at 06:23 local time. It didn't come with fanfare or destruction, just a shimmer in the clouds, a rift in the upper atmosphere that glowed like molten glass. It hovered, silent and massive, casting a shadow that swallowed entire districts. At first, people stared up in awe. Phones came out. Live streams surged. Commentators speculated breathlessly. Some thought it was a publicity stunt. Others said it was a new Chinese orbital platform. But by the time the second ship emerged over Lagos and a third over Sao Paulo, the wonder turned to dread. By 07 now, GMT, 30 ships had arrived. At 07:03, Earth fell silent. Satellites blinked out. GPS networks collapsed. Internet cables carried. Only static. Nuclear command lines went dead. Global militaries scrambled, blind and deaf. It was as if some invisible curtain had dropped over the planet. And then the sky broke. An EMP burst swept across North America like a tidal wave, frying circuits, knocking aircraft from the sky, and plunging entire cities into darkness. Fighter jets vaporized mid-flight. Defense grids lit up, then dimmed for good. The few remaining cameras that caught it, analog relics buried in bunkers or remote rural spots, captured eerie footage. White, bone-smooth vessels descending like vultures, discharging drones with insectoid precision. They came without warning. Without demands, without even a language. They didn't see the point. To the Thalrex Dominion, Earth was already theirs. Deep beneath the Rockies, in a bunker once designed to withstand nuclear war, Commander Elena Rios clawed her way out of a burning corridor. Her vision blurred, chest heaving, lungs stinging from smoke. The base had gone dark less than 20 seconds after the sky lit up. The escape pod she rode down from the orbital defense station had crash-landed half a kilometer away. She had no idea how she'd survived. She wasn't even sure why. But she was alive, bruised and broken and covered in frost. She blinked hard and focused on the emergency console, its tiny power cells still glowing faint green. Earth's orbital defense network was gone. The beacons had all gone dark. She was one of the last officers who'd seen the enemy from space, and lived. She staggered to her feet and activated the last working comm relay she could find, a jury-rigged shortwave system built by survivalists decades ago. It could barely reach 20 miles. "Anyone!" she rasped into the mic. "This is Commander Elena Rios of ORS, Orbital Response Station, Argus. If you can hear this, Earth has been invaded. Repeat, Earth is under hostile occupation." The static hissed. Then, a crackle. "Rios, this is Valk, Dr. Henry Valk. I read you. Barely." Her knees gave out. Relief poured through her like adrenaline. Someone was still out there. "Valk, where are you?" "Old geothermal station near Leadville. We've got injured and maybe 10 civilians. I'm trying to get the grid running again, but..." The line hissed, nearly cut out. Then a second voice came through, female, younger, panicked. "They're not just watching. They're harvesting. They're taking people." Rios froze. "Clarify." "I saw them," the voice whispered. "They drop these machines. They scan people. And if they fit, they're taken. Alive." Rios's jaw tightened. Her knuckles whitened around the microphone. The Thalrex weren't just here to conquer. They were studying them, classifying them like animals. She stood slowly, gazing up through a cracked vent in the mountain rock. The sky above was no longer blue. It shimmered with unnatural patterns. Fields, screens, maybe shields. She didn't know. She didn't care. Let them. Call Earth primitive. Let them calculate odds. Let them analyze fear. Because they'd made one mistake. They assumed silence meant surrender. In a cavern below, Rios powered up a cold fusion core from storage and began rebuilding an old uplink rig. If she could tap into one of the alien relay beacons, even momentarily, she could hijack the signal, send out a warning, a rallying cry, The world hadn't given up. It just needed time. She didn't know who else had survived. But she knew humanity. They would bleed. They would suffer. But they wouldn't stop. Commander Elena Rios opened her eyes to a world that no longer resembled the home she had known. The air was cold, thick with ash and the scent of burning metal. Outside the jagged entrance to the mountain, bunker. The sky flickered with strange lights, the unnatural glow of alien ships humming low in orbit, casting long, eerie shadows over the ravaged landscape. She flexed stiff fingers and found bruises blooming across her arms and face. The escape. Pod had saved her life, but the crash had left her weak and broken. She grimaced as she pushed herself upright, steadying on a cracked console. "We're not dead yet," she whispered to the silence. Deep inside the bunker, a low murmur of voices brought a flicker of hope. The surviving scientists, engineers, and soldiers gathered there looked up as she entered. Among them was Dr. Henry Valk, a weary but resolute man who had been coordinating efforts to restore power and establish communication. "Rios," he said, rising to greet her. "You're alive. We thought you were lost in the crash." She managed a tired nod. "The orbital station's gone. The sky's been shattered." Valk's eyes darkened. "They've been harvesting people, not just soldiers. Civilians, too. They're studying us like lab rats. The Thalrex don't want to just conquer Earth. They want to understand it. To break it down into data points." Rios clenched her fists. "They think we're weak, that we'll submit. And that's their biggest mistake," Valk said quietly. "Because humanity, we don't just survive. We adapt. We fight with madness, with emotion, with everything that doesn't fit in their neat equations." She looked around the room. Faces hardened by fear but burning with defiance. "We need to use that. Turn their own arrogance against them." In the days that followed, the bunker became a hive of feverish activity. They scavenged parts from broken satellites, converted old communication gear into jammers, and scavenged weapons from military ruins. Every scrap of alien technology they could capture was studied and reverse-engineered. Rios spent long hours poring over data logs recovered from the orbital station's wreckage. Among the ruins, she found chilling proof. The Thalrex used sophisticated AI to predict human behavior, assuming that emotion and chaos would be easily suppressed. But the patterns they relied on, calculations, probability matrices, were failing. One breakthrough came when a small squad, led by ex-soldier Marcus Levin, raided a drone supply depot. Instead of fighting the expected way, Marcus's team unleashed a barrage of erratic, unpredictable tactics, feints, wild gunfire, even screaming battle cries that confused the AI-controlled drones. The drones faltered, and the humans captured the depot. When news of the raid reached the bunker, a spark lit in Rios's chest. "We've found their weak spot," she told the group. "Their algorithms can't account for unpredictability. They expect us to be logical, calculated. They don't understand that sometimes the best weapon is madness." Meanwhile, the Thalrex watched from their command centers, their countless screens filled with images of burning cities and chaotic skirmishes. The alien commanders exchanged data streams, analyzing human tactics. "Highly erratic," one said in a tone devoid of emotion. "This human spirit impairs our predictive models. Their resistance is illogical, inefficient," another commander replied coldly. "They are primitive. We will crush them before their unpredictability becomes a threat." But the cracks were forming. Rios's team launched a daring mission. A strike against a regional AI node controlling drone patrols in the devastated city of Denver. They moved like ghosts through rubble and ash, wielding improvised weapons, Molotov cocktails, scavenged explosives, and repurposed EMP grenades. As they approached the AI core, the air hummed with synthetic whispers. The drones detected their presence, and swarmed. The firefight was brutal. Bullets tore through the stale air. The humans fought like demons, moving wildly, unpredictably. Marcus shouted orders that made no sense to the AI, running backwards, then charging, splitting up, regrouping. At the last moment, they threw incendiary devices into the core's cooling vents. Flames erupted, the AI core screeched, then went dark. For the first time since the invasion, a major Thalrex control node had been destroyed. Back at the bunker, the Resistance celebrated quietly. They had proven the Thalrex could be beaten. But more importantly, they had proved themselves. Rio stood at the edge of the world they knew, staring up at the star-filled sky now dominated by alien ships. "They thought we were weak," she said softly. "But they didn't understand us at all. The Thalrex came with reason, with cold logic and overwhelming firepower, but humanity thrived on chaos, on passion and unpredictability, and that would be the key to their survival." "Let them watch," she whispered. "Because the fight has only just begun." The cold mountain bunker was alive with whispered urgency. Commander Elena Rios stood over a flickering holomap, tracing the tangled web of Thalrex control zones and drone patrol routes that strangled what remained of Earth's cities. The humans had learned to move in shadows and chaos, but the alien grip was still suffocating. "What's the status on the AI disruption?" Rios asked, eyes sharp despite exhaustion. Dr. Henry Valk glanced up from a cluttered workstation, fingers stained with grease and circuitry. "The node we destroyed in Denver was only a test. It confused their predictive matrix, delayed drone responses by 20 minutes in the region. But their system is vast. We need a bigger strike." Rios nodded grimly. "Then we hit their data hive, the command center controlling drone fleets across North America. If we can take that down, maybe we break their hold." The mission was suicide on paper. The hive was housed inside a repurposed satellite ground station, buried under layers of rock and Thalrex shields. The alien sensors were hypersensitive, scanning for the slightest thermal or electromagnetic anomaly. But humans were nothing if not resourceful. Marcus Levin, the guerrilla tactician, smirked as he suited up with scavenged armor patched with wires and plates salvaged from wrecked drones. "Time to crash the algorithm party," he said. The strike team consisted of 8, Rios, Marcus, 2 engineers, and 5 soldiers. Their weapons were a hodgepodge of human tech and alien scavenged, gear jury-rigged to create something brutal and unpredictable. Flamethrowers made from fertilizer tanks, pulse rifles modified to fire in erratic bursts, and homemade EMP grenades rigged to explode in random patterns. The plan was simple: breach the station, plant an electromagnetic bomb in the mainframe, and escape before the system rebooted. Under cover of darkness and a heavy electrical storm, the team approached the site. Alien drones buzzed overhead like giant mechanical hornets, their sensors scanning relentlessly. The humans stayed low, weaving through the ruins and electronic debris. Inside the station, the hum of processors filled the air like a mechanical heartbeat. The walls pulsed with light, wires crawling like living veins. At the heart of the facility sat the AI core, a glowing orb of crystalline data, streaming endless lines of code into the void. The Thalrex AI had no emotions, no hesitation. It predicted outcomes with cold precision and optimized responses with ruthless efficiency. But humans weren't machines. As the team set explosives, the drones closed in faster than expected. The AI quickly adapted, altering patrol patterns and deploying shock troopers. The firefight erupted. Bullets ripped through the air, accompanied by the roar of flamethrowers and the crackle of energy weapons. The soldiers moved unpredictably, darting between cover, feigning retreats, and flanking with reckless abandon. They shouted battle cries, laughed through the chaos, and screamed in defiance. The AI struggled to anticipate their moves. At one point, Marcus deliberately ran straight at a drone swarm, screaming at the top of his lungs, throwing grenades wildly as if losing control. The drones scattered, confused by the illogical assault. Rios reached the AI core just as the bomb's timer ticked down. She jammed the device into the mainframe and sprinted for the exit. Behind her, the facility exploded in a wave of electromagnetic energy that fried circuits and sent drones crashing into rubble. The team barely escaped, battered, but alive. The AI core was gone. The drones in North America faltered for hours, unable to coordinate attacks. The Thalrex command was stunned. "How?" one alien commander demanded. "Their actions are irrational, impossible to calculate." Rios smiled grimly, wiping blood from her face. "That's because we're not machines," she said. "We bleed, we break the rules, and the algorithm can't handle that." Back at the bunker, the Victory breathed new life into the Resistance. The data they captured revealed critical weaknesses in the alien command structure. Rios and Valk pored over the information, plotting their next moves. The world outside remained harsh and dark, but the spark of rebellion was now aflame. "Next time," Rios vowed, "we don't just disrupt. We take the fight to their doorstep." Because the Thalrex had forgotten one truth. Unpredictability is chaos, and chaos, when wielded by something alive, can burn through even the coldest logic. The Thalrex Dominion's commanders convened in a cavernous command chamber aboard their orbital flagship, a starship carved from dark alloys that absorbed all light. Screens flickered with live feeds of Earth. Cities aflame, scattered resistance fighters, and alien patrols struggling to maintain control. The situation was frustrating. Humanity's unpredictability gnawed at their algorithms. The Resistance's chaos was more than a nuisance. It was a threat to the Dominion's plans for swift conquest. "Analyze behavioral patterns," the lead commander ordered. "Voice as cold as the void. Their fear responses must be exploited. Activate fear protocols." Fear protocols were the Thalrex's psychological weapon against primitive species. A bioengineered neural assault designed to overwhelm the human psyche with terror, to break their will before physical defeat. Back on Earth, the Resistance felt it first as an invisible wave washing over cities. Whispers of despair broadcast on stolen frequencies, haunting voices playing through hacked broadcasts, shadows, twisting into nightmare forms. The fear was real, a palpable fog that sank into bones and minds. Elena Rios noticed it during a supply run outside the bunker. Her squad moved through empty streets, their breaths ragged and eyes wide. Radios crackled with frantic reports of hallucinations and panic attacks. "We can't fight ghosts," one soldier whispered, clutching his rifle like a lifeline. But Rios saw something else. The fear was there, but so was resistance. She remembered the old human instinct. Fear might paralyze, but it also sharpened senses, ignited courage. In the bunker's cramped meeting room, the team gathered to strategize. Dr. Henry Valk presented. Data intercepted from alien signals, fear-inducing frequencies designed to dampen morale and promote submission. "It's a neural virus," Valk explained. "It hijacks the brain's emotional centers. The Thalrex think they can paralyze us with fear, make us too broken to fight." Rios shook her head. "We won't let them." She turned to a young hacker named Jessa, whose fingers danced over keyboards. "Can you reverse it? Turn their own weapon against them?" Jessa's eyes lit up with a fierce grin. "Already working on it. If we can embed counter-signals, memes, music, coded messages, we can scramble the fear protocol's effect, turn terror into fuel." The Resistance launched a new campaign, broadcasting rebellious music over hijacked channels using street performances to transmit coded defiance, and flooding the network with images of human courage. In the heart of a ruined city, a crowd gathered, singing old Earth songs. The sound waves pulsed like a weapon, breaking the alien neural assault. Meanwhile, a captured Thalrex drone, modified by resistance engineers, began to malfunction. It twitched, glitching erratically, its usual cold composure shattered. The drone's AI was overwhelmed by conflicting signals, terror broadcast by its own protocols, and the human music flooding its systems. It staggered, its servos grinding as if confused by the chaos in its circuits. Rios watched from a vantage point, eyes narrowed. Fear is supposed to break us, but instead, it's making us stronger. The Thalrex commanders aboard the flagship struggled to adapt. The neural broadcasts meant to subdue humanity were backfiring spectacularly. Amplify the signal, the lead ordered. Increase the fear frequency, but the Resistance's countermeasures grew faster, stronger. Human emotions, the very thing the Thalrex had dismissed as primitive, became a weapon of mass disruption. As cities lit up with riot and song, Rios made a decision. "We fight with fear," she told her commanders. "Not by letting it break us, but by using it to fuel our rage, our hope." The Thalrex think fear means weakness. They don't understand what fear means to us. Because to humans, fear was not the end. It was the beginning. That night, under the shattered moonlight, the Resistance launched coordinated strikes. Armed with newly modified weapons and driven by the fire of defiance, they stormed alien patrols, their movements unpredictable, chaotic, and terrifying. The Thalrex drones faltered, their programming unable to handle the twisted human resolve. One soldier shouted in a wild battle cry, "They wanted fear! We'll give them fury!" And far above, the Thalrex flagship shimmered against the stars, its commanders realizing too late that their greatest weapon had become humanity's greatest strength. The Arctic was a silent wasteland of ice and snow, an endless expanse of white broken only by the jagged ridges of glaciers and the frozen skeletons of ancient ships. Beneath the endless chill lay something darker, something alien. Elena Rios and her strike team gathered at the edge of a hidden Thalrex outpost buried deep in the permafrost, an enormous facility they called the Factory. Satellite images scavenged from before the blackout showed strange activity, drones moving in patterns too precise to be natural, energy signatures pulsing through the ice like a heartbeat. Valk checked his gear, scanning the perimeter with a handheld device. "This place is more than a base. It's a manufacturing hub. They're building something." Rios's jaw tightened. Weapons? Drones? Something worse? The factory's entrance yawned before them. A massive reinforced doctor buried beneath ice sheets etched with alien glyphs that glowed faintly under Valk's scanner. They hacked the controls and pried the door open, revealing a corridor of cold steel and humming machinery. Inside, the air was sterile, recycled, and laced with an unsettling metallic scent. Massive assembly lines stretched into the shadows, where half-constructed drones and robotic limbs hung like grotesque trophies. "This is their heart of industry," Marcus whispered, voice low. "If we destroy this, we cripple their supply chain." But as they advanced, alarms blared. Red lights flooded the halls. Alien patrols surged from hidden chambers, their movements faster and more precise than before. The battle was fierce and desperate. The team fought through corridors filled with sparks and shattered glass, each step echoing with the thrum of alien engines. Deep within the factory, Valk's team located the production core, a pulsating nexus of energy that powered the entire facility. As Valk began to plant charges, Rios noticed a sealed chamber nearby. Inside, rows of transparent pods held captured humans, slim, pale, eyes closed, hooked to tubes and wires. The prisoners' faces were gaunt, drained, as if their life force was being harvested. "They're not just making weapons," Rios said, horror dawning. "They're using humans as raw materials." Valk's voice was grim. "The Thalrex harvest bioenergy. These pods are farms. Time ran out." The team barely escaped the factory as Valk's charges detonated, sending shockwaves through the icy complex. The building groaned and cracked, ice and steel collapsing in a deafening roar. Outside, as the last of the smoke curled into the frigid air, Rios looked up at the pale, cold stars. "We've slowed them," she said softly. "But this war, it's bigger than we imagined." Back in the bunker, the captured data from the factory revealed even more chilling truths. The Thalrex had been preparing for Earth's conquest for decades, using hidden bases to manufacture weapons and capture humans for some unknown purpose. The Dominion wasn't just an invading force. They were a predator species, harvesting and reshaping worlds. But humanity had shown it could fight back, adapt, survive. "We may be up against monsters," Rios said to her commanders, "but monsters have weaknesses." The Arctic night was endless, a blanket of darkness so thick it swallowed everything whole. After the destruction of the factory, Elena Rios and her team had thought they might find some moment of calm. Instead, the silence felt heavier, more oppressive, as if something was waiting. Deep in the bunker, Dr. Henry Valk monitored strange signals intercepted from the far reaches of the planet. Among the static and noise was a faint but deliberate pulse, a coded transmission unlike anything the Resistance had seen before. "Commander," Valk called, eyes fixed on the screen. "There's a signal buried in the noise. It's not Thalrex." Rios moved closer, tension knotting her shoulders. "Not Thalrex? Who else?" "Unknown origin," Valk replied. "It's faint, but it's there, patterned, intentional." The Resistance team traced the signal's source to a remote island chain in the Pacific, a forgotten stretch of volcanic rock and dense jungle. The Thalrex had never claimed it, but it showed signs of ancient activity. Something old, something buried beneath the ashes of history. Rios assembled a small squad, wary but curious. The journey to the island was treacherous. Storms lashed the coast, and the jungle was thick with unseen dangers. Every step seemed to echo with whispers of a past long buried. When they finally reached the source, they found a massive underground complex, ancient and alien, but not Thalrex. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. "This isn't their technology," Marcus said, eyes wide. "It's older, different." As they ventured deeper, the signal grew stronger, guiding them toward a central chamber. There, they found an enormous crystalline structure, pulsing with energy, humming with power. Valk knelt beside it, awe and fear etched on his face. This could be a beacon, or a warning. Suddenly, the crystal flickered, projecting an image, a holographic figure, humanoid but ethereal, speaking in a language none of them understood. Then, as if sensing their confusion, the figure shifted, and words formed in their minds, clear and urgent. "To those who hear, the Thalrex are harvesters of worlds. Their dominion brings death, but we fought once, and we left behind a way to stop them. Seek the keys, unite the fragments. Only then. Will Earth stand a chance?" The message left more questions than answers. Who were the beings in the crystal? How had they fought the Thalrex before? And what were these keys they spoke of? But Rios knew one thing for certain. The fight was bigger than humanity alone. "We're not alone in this," she told. Her team. "There's help out there. We just have to find it." Back in the bunker, the team pored over the data, piecing together fragments of the ancient language and symbols. Each discovery unlocked more secrets, maps, star charts, and cryptic clues pointing to scattered artifacts hidden across the solar system. The Resistance's fight on Earth was just the beginning. Outside, the Thalrex orbital fleets gathered, sensing the shift. Their grip was slipping, and a new variable, ancient and unknown, was entering the equation. In the vast silence of space, an old war was awakening. Elena Rios stared at the sprawling map projected over the bunker's war table, her eyes tracing the scattered points of light marking ancient relics across the solar system. Each key the mysterious beacon spoke of was a piece of a puzzle, an artifact left behind by an unknown civilization that had once resisted the Thalrex. The discovery had shifted the Resistance's entire strategy. No longer was the fight just about Earth. It was about reclaiming lost power and knowledge, about taking the battle to the stars. "We need to get those keys," Rios said, her voice steady despite the weight of the task. "If we can unlock whatever technology or weapon these ancients left behind, we might finally turn the tide." The first key was believed to lie buried beneath the ruins of an asteroid mining colony on Ceres, deep within the asteroid belt. It was a treacherous mission. The colony had been abandoned decades ago, now a ghost town strewn with debris and patrolled by Thalrex scavenger drones. Rios assembled a strike team: Marcus Levin, the ever-cunning fighter; Jessa, the hacker; Valk, the scientist, and a handful of seasoned resistance members. They boarded a stolen Thalrex shuttle, modified to evade patrol scans, and set course for the belt. The asteroid belt was a realm of shadows and silence, where one wrong move could send a ship hurtling into oblivion. As the shuttle glided through the debris field, Jessa's fingers danced over her console, hacking enemy signals and scrambling drone sensors. "We're not alone," she warned. "Drones closing in, and they're not just patrolling, they're hunting." The team steeled themselves as the shuttle landed near the colony. The airlock hissed open to reveal a cavern of rusted metal, broken machinery, and silent corridors heavy with the ghosts of the past. Inside, the team moved cautiously, weapons raised. The key was said to be hidden in the central hub, locked behind layers of alien encryption and security systems. Jessa set to work, her hacking tools probing the ancient systems. The rest of the team guarded her, tension thick in the air. Suddenly, alarms blared. Thalrex scavenger drones poured in, sleek and relentless. The firefight was brutal. Marcus and the soldiers fought with desperate ingenuity, using the broken terrain to their advantage, setting traps and baiting drones into dead ends. Jessa worked faster, sweat beading her brow. The encryption was unlike anything she'd ever seen, but she was close. Just as the last drone was felled, a panel slid open, revealing a small crystalline device, glowing softly with an inner light. Rios reached out and took the key, feeling. A strange warmth pulsed through her fingers. "This is it," she breathed. But the victory was short-lived. Outside, a massive Thalrex warship appeared, blocking their escape. "We've been spotted," Marcus said grimly. "Time to move." The team raced back to the shuttle as the warship's weapons locked on. The shuttle shook violently under the blasts, but Jessa managed to hack the targeting systems, giving them a narrow window to jump into hyperspace. As they escaped, Rios held the key tightly. It was a symbol of hope, a chance to fight back with power beyond their wildest dreams. Back at the bunker, the team studied the key. Valk's eyes widened as he activated it, revealing star charts and schematics of ancient weapons, technologies designed to disrupt the Thalrex's drones and communications. "We're closer than ever," Valk said, "but we still have more keys to find." Rios nodded. "And we'll find them, one by one." Far above, in the Thalrex flagship, the alien commanders watched the Resistance's successes with growing unease. "They are evolving," one hissed. "Their spirit is beyond our understanding." Another replied, "We must eliminate them before they unlock the power to challenge us." But Earth's defenders were no longer just survivors. They were hunters now. Earth's skies were no longer silent. The distant stars burned bright with the flashes of war. Human fighters swarming Thalrex vessels, fleets clashing in the vacuum of space, the echoes of defiance roaring louder than ever. Inside the battered bunker beneath the shattered city, Elena Rios stood before her commanders, the ancient keys laid out like sacred relics on the table. Each one pulsed faintly with power, the promise of victory born from sacrifice and unyielding spirit. "The Thalrex are coming," Rios said, voice resolute. "They're sending their entire fleet to crush us once and for all. But we have something they don't: hope, unity, and the power of these keys. This ends here." Outside, the air crackled with tension. The resistance fighters, worn, scarred, but unbroken, readied themselves. Their weapons, once scavenged and improvised, now bore the imprint of ancient technology, their pulses synchronized with the rhythm of human determination. As the enemy fleet loomed on the horizon, the humans unleashed their gambit. The battle erupted in a storm of fire and light. Earth's orbit became a maelstrom of starships weaving through plasma blasts and missile volleys. The keys activated ancient defenses buried beneath the planet's crust. Massive energy shields flared to life, deflecting orbital bombardments. On the ground, resistance cells struck with precision and fury, sabotaging Thalrex command centers and disabling drone factories. Marcus led squads deep into enemy-held territory, igniting sparks of rebellion wherever they went. In the thick of battle, Rios confronted the Thalrex flagship's command deck aboard a stolen assault shuttle. Her heart pounded with fierce resolve as she and her team fought their way through corridors filled with alien sentinels. Reaching the core, Rios deployed the last key, a crystalline device that interfaced directly with the Thalrex AI, scrambling its control over the fleet and drones. The alien systems faltered, their cold grip slipping. "Humanity," a distorted voice crackled over the comms. "You have something we cannot understand. Fear, courage, hope. We underestimated you." Rios didn't respond with words. She surged forward, leading the charge to reclaim Earth's future. The Thalrex fleet fractured under the onslaught, their forces retreating into the void. The last drone crashed in a fiery blaze, a symbol of a dark reign ending. As dawn broke over the horizon, the battered but unyielding humans looked up at a sky no longer dominated by invaders, but by their own stars. Elena Rios stood on a hill overlooking the city, the keys shining softly in her hand. The fight had been brutal and costly, but Earth was free. "We were never weak," she whispered. "We just needed to remember who we are. And humanity's story, one of defiance, hope, and unbreakable, will had only just begun."